Hello, welcome to the Oscar prediction episode of the CinemaMD podcast. My name is Matt.
And I'm Dana.
So we're going to go through all of the 2018 Academy Award nominees, and we are going to be picking our winners. These are our consensus CinemaMD picks to win each Academy Award. Not necessarily our personal preferences to win, but this is what we've decided we think will win. There's some sleepers, there's some locks. So we're going to jump right into it with some of the more obscure categories, and we'll work our way up to Best Picture.
I.e. the ones that nobody cares about.
Except the people that actually made the films, I'm sure.
I mean, kudos to them when they get the award, but in general, these aren't the most exciting categories.
Which is why we're going to start with Best Documentary Short Subject, of which we have seen 0. What that means is we're cheating. We are picking Edith and Eddie as our winner for this category based on previous award wins this year and other internet opinions.
Super cheatery.
We will try to see these before the Academy Awards actually air, so we know what the hell's going on, but right now we're making an educated guess. The next category we're going to talk about is another one that we are uninformed about, and most of you probably are as well. Live action short. So with this one, we're going to go with DeKalb Elementary. Again, based primarily on previous award wins this season and internet opinion. I hate that we have to cheat a little bit on these, but what can I say? We've seen pretty much every nominee for the major categories, and there's only
on right now. And look up the video of Gary Oldman as Winston Churchill dancing as though he is James Brown in full makeup. I think that's award material enough.
It is a hilarious video. Next category we're going to go into is production design. So I feel like there were a couple worthy nominees here. Primarily The Shape of Water, which is our pick, and also Blade Runner 2049 and Dunkirk. I think it's kind of a three-horse race, but our personal preference here was Shape of Water, and I also think that's what's going to win.
Agreed.
Guillermo del Toro does cool creature design. I'm sure he also had a lot to say in the production design, and I think it shows. There's some really kind of creative, unique sets. There's an old movie theater that's awesome. The main character, her apartment, is very like vintagey and cool, and there's like some really cool colors going on. And the actual kind of weird underground base lab thing that the film takes place in largely, there's also some really cool stuff going on there. It's just a neat movie, and it looks really cool. The production design's stellar. So Shape of Water, best production design. Next up, we're going to jump into film editing, and I think there's a couple ways to go here, but our pick was Dunkirk for film editing, and the reason being, as Dana pointed out earlier, it's basically 3 separate films all taking place, 3 stories, all kind of wildly different than one another, all taking place during this battle, and they all kind of have to successfully be edited together to form a cohesive picture.
Are we still on sound editing, or are we at film editing?
This is film editing.
Film editing.
We haven't done
okay.
Sound editing yet.
I was about to jump in with the sound stuff, and I stopped myself there. But yeah, absolutely. I think Dunkirk is the most deserving, and I think it's up for a lot of awards. I think that it might not sweep as it might have done in other years without the kind of competition that it has. So I think that where it can pick up some of these, forgive me for saying, more minor awards, I think it may do that.
I think we can call them technical awards.
Sure.
I think that Dunkirk will do well in technical awards this year, and I think film editing is one that it will win. I think its primary competition, to me, is Baby Driver, and that is a credit to Edgar Wright, not that because he's the editor, but because he demands so many really interesting shots and cuts, and they're very quick. And I think an unskilled editor could really butcher an Edgar Wright movie. And Baby Driver is excellent. And I think it could maybe upset Dunkirk here, but I'm going to go with Dunkirk. All right, so now we already kind of hinted at it. We're going to jump into sound mixing and sound editing. Now, 9 times out of 10, these go to the same film. But because we do our due diligence here, unlike with the short film categories, which we didn't really care too much about at this point. We actually looked up what the hell the difference was between sound mixing and sound editing.
I'm going to be honest, still not 100%, but the article I read seemed to put it well in that it is the job of the sound editor to choose all the different sounds that are going into the film. However, it is the job of the sound mixer to then decide where the emphasis is going to be on all those different sounds. Are you going to ramp up the score in this particular scene? Are you going to zero in on a character's heavy breathing? So there's a lot of overlap, but they did eventually, or recently, in the grand scheme of things, separate those into two different categories.
That being the case, we opted, and this might be a little bit of hedging our bets here, because in all likelihood the same movie is going to win both of these awards, but we didn't go that route. For sound mixing, we chose Dunkirk. The moments when the score takes over really work. The moments when you really need to hear gunshots and they need to seem close and threatening and overwhelming and very oppressive, it just works. So I think that that's a very good example of sound mixing based on the definition that we understand as sound mixing. For sound editing, we went with maybe a bit of an upset pick here in Baby Driver. And I think this has to do a lot with the jump cuts that I talked about earlier with Edgar Wright's film editing. And a lot of this is gear shifts and squealing tires and all the different things going on in these chase scenes. I feel like the sounds were so perfectly chosen and perfectly designed for the film. And it all seems so seamless and real. You can't really tell that there's any editing going on there.
Agreed.
Okay, moving on to costume design. So we just saw The Phantom Thread, like today, right before we are recording this episode. Neither of us really think The Phantom Thread is a awards-worthy film necessarily. I don't think either of us loved it. That being said, there is one award where The Phantom Thread will win an Academy Award most likely, and it is Best Costume Design.
You would think anyway. I mean, that's sort of, really that's not what the movie is about, but the main character is a, high-end fashion gown designer. So you would think, and I think it delivered with these really beautiful dresses and gowns and everybody's costumes throughout the whole film, regardless of if they were wearing one of the main character's, works of art, is just really dressed impeccably and very interesting clothing choices.
And as per usual, you've got a lot of period pieces up for this award. In addition to The Phantom Thread, you've got Victoria and Abdul, Darkest Hour, The Shape of Water, and then Beauty and the Beast. The Shape of Water could win based on the fact that it's just a strong film with a lot of nominations, and it's got a lot of momentum kind of going into awards, the Academy Awards here. So I think it could possibly win, and I think Victoria and Abdul could pull off an upset, because if there's any award it's going to win... Who even knows why it's... Well, if there's any award it's going to win, I feel like it would be costume design. But I don't think it's going to win. I think Phantom Thread is going to win this award. Next category is visual effects. Visual effects is an interesting category because I feel like your general audience, film-going audience, probably wouldn't agree with the winners that are usually chosen. Instead of the biggest, flashiest movie with the most special effects, a lot of times the Academy tends to pick movies that maybe depend on the special effect, like one particular special effect the most, things like that. That being said, War for the Planet of the Apes is nominated this year. I kind of feel like because Andy Serkis isn't allowed to get nominated yet for Best Actor or Supporting Actor for his actual CG roles that he plays, they kind of throw him a bone, and they almost always win Best Visual Effects for the films where he is a prominent character. And I don't think this will be any different. I think War for the Planet of the Apes is going to be what wins. I think if there's any competition, it's going to be from Blade Runner 2049. And I think that has as much to do with the crazy kind of production design and the cinematography as it does with the effects, but they all complement each other very well, and it's a beautiful looking movie.
Side note on this category, I don't understand how Kong Skull Island is up for this year's award. Maybe I've just rewatched it in my in the background spare time kind of way, that it seems like this movie came out 2 years ago. So I was really shocked that it was nominated, but apparently I just have been in some kind of time warp.
Done a lot of living since Skong
Island.
Words. We've done a lot of living since Kong Skull Island came out.
Sure.
Just saying. Lots gone on. It's kind of like Get Out, though. You know,
Get Out to me still seems like the very beginning of like the award year, whereas oh my gosh, we're not talking about this movie anymore. The Big Ape movie that's not Planet of the Apes.
Kong, the movie that has no subtitle because we can't pronounce it.
Yep. But yeah, I just thought that was kind of funny because it just seems seriously like if in trivia, let's say you said, name the year that movie came out, I would maybe go 2016 would be my guess.
That being the case, best visual effects, War for the Planet of the Apes. You can book it. We're pretty sure on that one. We're gonna go back to a short category, animated short. Now this one, we also haven't seen them. We haven't seen any short films. We hate short films, apparently. We don't. We just haven't seen them. That being the case, we're going to go with Lou. Because Lou is a movie about bullying, and it's also done by Pixar. And I feel like a topical short film done by Pixar has a really good chance of winning an Academy Award. I'm sure the other nominees are fantastic, and again, I'm probably going to try to catch them. I know there's a local theater that does all of the animated shorts before the Academy Awards air, so maybe we'll check those out. But for now, we're going with Lou. Moving on to adapted screenplay. This is an interesting one because I feel like there's really only one frontrunner for this award. I think there's maybe two potential winners, but if our pick doesn't win, I will be very surprised.
Yeah, although I will say I think that the nominees are interesting movies. They're not ones that you would immediately guess. I feel like it's not like a couple of them, yes. We decided to go with Call Me by Your Name as the pick. Yes.
Yeah, for best adapted screenplay, Call Me by Your Name.
Which we saw recently. Also, both loved it. Thought it was really beautifully done. But some of the other nominees in the same category, The Disaster Artist was also a hilarious movie and probably a great adaptation. But if you're going with the social climate of things right now, James Franco is not everybody's favorite person, so this movie might be sort of overlooked for those reasons. Molly's Game was good, but, I don't know. I could see that maybe could be an upset, maybe.
Yeah, it had a strong screenplay, but it's not Aaron Sorkin's best, and I just don't see him winning for that movie.
No, and Logan was the surprise nominee for me. I was not expecting that one.
Logan was great, but I almost feel like it was sort of a pity nomination. Not pity, that's the wrong word.
A filler nomination?
I guess. They were like, this movie needs to be nominated for something. It like rose above its comic book roots. So let's throw it in here. I feel like the two nominees that have a chance are Call Me by Your Name and The Disaster Artist. I feel like James Franco, whatever's going on with him, seems like he's kind of a scumbag. I feel like he kind of ruined whatever chance The Disaster Artist had for winning some big awards, including this one. So Call Me by Your Name is our pick.
That, and I mean, personally, I think it's the more deserving, but
it's the best. It's by far the best movie in this category as well. Moving on to cinematography. Cinematography is an interesting one because it encompasses a lot. I mean, the movie, the way the movie looks, the way the movie's shot is the cinematographer's job. So, this is tough. I think that you could go with three of these films. I feel like Dunkirk, Blade Runner 2049, and The Shape of Water are all deserving of this award. Roger Deakins is a legend, and he shot the original Blade Runner as well. So he's definitely going to garner some consideration by default. We went with The Shape of Water. It's a beautifully shot movie. It looks better than a monster movie has any right to look. And a lot of that, you can credit some of that to Guillermo del Toro as well, and to the production design, and to everything. But the fact is that the guy that actually set up the shots did a great job. And again, I think The Shape of Water is going to win a handful of awards, and this is one of them.
Agreed.
Original screenplay. This is a loaded category, to say the least. So you've got The Shape of Water, Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Get Out, The Big Sick, and Lady Bird. These are 5 outstanding nominees.
For sure. And off the bat, I would say that I really don't think The Big Sick has a chance, although it was a great movie. And super kudos to Kumail Nanjiani and his wife, Emily, for, getting nominated on a first movie and kind of like an interesting love story. So proud of them. Good job, guys.
On a similar note, I think that Get Out is the victim of its release date. And I feel like the fact that it came out early in the year is hurting it. And I think this is why most films that are making awards runs come out in the holiday season or afterwards. I think it's as deserving as any other movie in this category. But I don't think it has a realistic chance of winning either. The picks that I think can win are Lady Bird, The Shape of Water, and Three Billboards. I haven't seen the screenplay for The Shape of Water. I can tell you based on the dialogue or lack thereof in the film that depending on how that screenplay is written, what kind of directions are in it, it could be some sort of crazy masterpiece, but I have no way of knowing that.
And what Matt's alluding to is the fact that Sally Hawkins' character is mute, so she communicates largely by sign language, but also obviously there's, facial expressions and body language and all sorts of things. So I guess it kind of depends on, were all of those things part of the screenplay or not?
Well, and the other character is a fish man who can't speak. So you basically got 2 main characters who are emoting without talking. If that's all done in the script, and I mean, I would have to assume a lot of it is done by Sally Hawkins and Doug Jones in their respective roles. But if it's well scripted out in the screenplay, I could see that winning for... I mean, if he actually scripted all of the facial expressions out that he wanted to see, then kudos to Guillermo del Toro, because that's genius. But I'm going to go ahead and assume that that's not entirely the case, so I don't think The Shape of Water will win. I think it's between Three Billboards and Lady Bird. I am really torn on this one. In general, we were really torn on this one. Lady Bird is probably one of the best coming-of-age stories in a very long time, and it nailed the mother-daughter dynamic. It nailed being a kid in the 90s. Apparently, it nailed growing up in Sacramento, but I have no frame of reference.
Yeah, I would also say it pretty much nails teenage girlhood and that teenage girlfriend dynamic also. Yeah, I mean, obviously just a really great movie. But on the flip side, Three Billboards has such snappy, witty, quick writing that it's really hard to say what's better than the other. I mean, maybe one's more realistic than the other, but who knows what the criteria they're judging on.
Our pick is Three Billboards based on the fact that I think the movie is... this is kind of a bad thing to say. It's more dependent on the dialogue. Not necessarily true. Both movies have incredibly strong scripts that they rely on. So this is really a toss-up. I think Lady Bird might actually be the favorite general consensus pick here, but we're going to go with Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. That was kind of our gut, and we're going with it. All right, so we are moving on to animated feature. This is one of those mortal lock categories where there's really only one winner, or one nominee that has a chance of winning, I should say, and that's Coco, the Pixar movie. Big surprise, Pixar movie is going to win Best Animated Feature. Basically, unless it's a Cars sequel, it's going to be a Pixar movie. So, the other nominee that I'm highly interested in seeing in this category is Loving Vincent, because the animation style looks just stunning. I don't know if it's going to be that good of a movie, but it looks amazing and I want to see it. Ferdinand, the Boss Baby, and the Breadwinner, even if they're like decent movies, they're not award-winning movies.
No.
Coco has had a ton of praise heaped upon it. The people of Mexico have thanked Pixar for basically showing their culture in such a positive light and such an accurate light. It's done everything right, and I don't see any way that Coco loses Best Animated Feature. Moving on, we're going to go to Best Original Song, and this is one where we went off script, and this is a pick that we both want to win, and we've listened to all of the original songs, and this is by far the song that we like the most. So this is our going against the general critics' choices here, because the pick has been Remember Me, which is from Coco. Everyone thinks that's going to win, apparently. We both think the best song, and our pick to win is Mystery of Love by
Sufjan Stevens.
There you go. And that is from Call Me By Your Name. And he has a few songs in the movie, and this is, I think, the best one.
Yeah, I think we picked up on 3 different songs that he clearly does, and I believe that the songs were obviously Best Original Song written for the movie. But yeah, this was by far the best one, both in that film, and I think out of these songs, nothing against Mary J. Blige or Common with, well, her name is escaping me. Diane Warren wrote it, which is not who sang it with Common.
Sufjan Stevens is awesome anyways.
Yeah,
I mean,
we're a little biased.
We like his music. We like the song.
But all the rest of the songs are just really not memorable. We haven't seen The Greatest Showman yet. We probably will before award season. I know that's the other sort of nominee for This Is Me. And that's sort of what's holding me personally back from seeing The Greatest Showman. I love musicals, really into that, but the music sounds kind of cheesy, at least from what I've heard in the trailers. So I'm really pulling for Mystery of Love.
Next category up, Best Documentary. So we went with Icarus on this one, and that is the documentary that's on Netflix right now about the Russian doping scandal. And this documentary, I don't want to say single-handedly, but it had a big part to play in getting Russian Olympians banned from the Olympics this year. That's a big deal. It's hard to argue with a documentary that has an actual major impact on something in the world. I'm not saying these other films don't, because a lot of documentaries bring a lot of things to light that need to be brought to light. Unfortunately, we're just not familiar enough with a lot of the other nominees. Faces, Places, at least from what I can gather from internet scuttlebutt. I love that word, by the way, scuttlebutt. It's a fun word to say. That is the kind of trendy pick to win the Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature. So if you're in your office pools, or do people do office pools for these things? I wish they did. Our office doesn't. Whatever. Faces, Places would probably be the safe bet. I'm going with Icarus. It's the one I'm the most interested in, and it literally got one of the biggest countries in the world banned from the Olympics for now. So, yeah, Icarus is our pick. Moving on to Best Original Score. And this was tough. There's some really good scores. I only ever had one pick that I was going to go with on this one. I'll go through the nominees real quick. I think Dana had maybe some other thoughts, but Star Wars The Last Jedi. It's John Williams' score, obviously. Shape of Water, Dunkirk, Phantom Thread, and 3 Billboards. Those are your nominees. I think they're all good nominees. My pick was always going to be The Shape of Water. I loved that score.
I thought it was great too. I think it is memorable. I think what we're suffering, though, in trying to think about the scores for these movies is that we haven't seen Dunkirk in a long time. Same thing with... Star Wars is going to be great, but I don't really think that Star Wars is necessarily a contender, despite John Williams' talent. But yeah, Dunkirk I feel like could be something that sneaks in there in this category too. It's been a long time since we've seen it, so it's easier to recall the movie you've seen the most recently. having seen, Phantom Thread, I love Johnny Greenwood. I love other scores that he's done, in addition to being a fan of Radiohead, but just wasn't super impressed with that one.
No. To me, it's The Shape of Water all the way, and that's going to be our pick for this one. So, Alexander Desplat for The Shape of Water. Moving on. Best Foreign Language Film. This is an interesting one because we've seen one of the films. We're familiar with two of them. And to be perfectly honest, there's a French film that's not nominated that I would have picked over any of these, but I digress. The pick that we're going to go with is The Square by Ruben Östlund. And it's a funny movie. I mean, it's a genuinely funny movie. I think that it's a film. We did a full review of this one. I actually have it posted on the website from Fantastic Fest where we saw it like last September. It's a good movie. I think that the parts are greater than the whole in the film in this case.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a series of vignettes following an art museum curator.
Now that I've gotten some distance from it, though, I would definitely be interested in giving this one a rewatch. I feel like I may like it more upon rewatching. I think we had really high expectations at the film festival for it, just based on kind of like the buzz around it and some of the other movies we've seen. We're really looking forward to this one, and it let us down a little bit. But I think on a rewatch, we might have a more favorable opinion of it.
The other movie that we haven't had a chance to see this one yet. There have been some trailers playing around here recently, so hopefully we'll get a chance to see it soon. Is A Fantastic Woman, which basically, from the synopsis, from what I can gather, is about a relationship between a trans woman and kind of an elderly man.
Mm-hmm.
And the man dies, and it's kind of this whole shitstorm that she goes through with this man's family not wanting her at the funeral, not wanting to embarrass their family, all these things going on. So, very topical. It seems like it's a really interesting movie. I believe they actually cast a trans woman in the part.
I'm not up on the research here, so don't look at me.
I hope they did. Anyways, I don't know. That is kind of the impression that I got. So, I think A Fantastic Woman and The Square are also the two kind of general leading nominees. I feel like A Fantastic Woman seems to be getting picked more often than not, but we're going to go with The Square. We liked it. It's grown on us both over time, and it's definitely a movie that's worth checking out, despite the fact that it stars a Scientologist.
Yep. She's talented. It makes me mad when they're talented, but she is.
It's Elizabeth Moss. I like her. I love Handmaid's Tale.
Scientology, hard to reconcile.
I know, her and Tom Cruise.
Well, Tom Cruise is a whole other show. We can do a whole podcast on Tom Cruise, so let's not.
Okay, sounds good. Moving on from foreign language film, we're going to jump into some of the 6 big ones. So, Best Supporting Actress is literally the category that almost made us just have our own picks instead of doing a consensus, because we basically were split on this one completely. My pick is Allison Janney from I, Tonya as Tonya Harding's mother.
And I agree, it's probably going to be Allison Janney, so I couldn't dissent too much from the decision. However, I really think that Laurie Metcalf for Lady Bird, has got to be sort of the runner-up to that. And she just... I'm really pulling for her. That's sort of the one that I would want to win. I think she is very deserving of it. I think she's had a long... talented career, and I thought she just was stellar in this movie. But that's not taking anything away from Allison Janney's performance. She was totally nuts. I mean, just completely crazy in this movie. So I think both of them are very deserving of it. I think it probably will go to Allison Janney, but if Laurie Metcalf were to get it, awesome for her.
So there you have it. Allison Janney, Best Supporting Actress for I, Tonya. Next category up is Best Supporting Actor. This one was a little easier for us. I really only think there's 2 potential winners here. So Sam Rockwell and Woody Harrelson are nominated for 3 Billboards. The fact is that Sam Rockwell has a bigger part in the movie, and he's better in the movie than Woody Harrelson is. Nothing against Woody Harrelson. So Woody Harrelson's out. Christopher Plummer for All the Money in the World. The film just didn't get the stellar reviews that these other films got, so that's out. Richard Jenkins for The Shape of Water. Saw the movie, love Richard Jenkins. Not really a memorable enough role to win the award. So he's out. So it comes down to me to Sam Rockwell and Willem Dafoe. Willem Dafoe being nominated for the Florida Project.
Unfortunately, we missed the Florida Project before it went out of theaters in our area, so we did not get to see that one, although we wanted to. So going based off what we've seen, Sam Rockwell is the choice or the pick for us. But we obviously heard really great things about the Florida Project. I wouldn't, it could be sort of maybe an upset there, but Sam Rockwell also has been getting a lot of attention in other awards.
Yeah, the pick for us is Sam Rockwell for 3 Billboards. I think he was one of like the 3 best performances of the year, male or female. I thought he was great. Next category, we're going to go on to Best Director. And this one we went a little bit off script. I'm gonna be honest. Guillermo del Toro has been winning everything for Shape of Water. He's won almost every directing award this year. I don't think he's undeserving. I love Guillermo del Toro. I have a book on him that I'm reading right now. I mean, I think he's fantastic. He's one of my favorite directors. I have his autograph on my wall. That being the case, we went a little bit off script here. We're going to go with Greta Gerwig for Lady Bird. And part of this is kind of due to not awards momentum, but just general societal momentum for Greta Gerwig. Everything in my gut tells me that she needs to win this award. I think she's deserving of it. Quite honestly, I think Lady Bird not getting as much awards love as movies like 3 Billboards and Shape of Water is a shame, because I would put it on an even playing field with all of those movies. I think that this could be a category where Greta Gerwig comes out of left field and wins. And let's remember that though she hasn't won a Best Directing award yet, like from a major award this season, she wasn't nominated, which is pretty much bullshit.
Yeah, that was obviously very pointedly drawn attention to by Natalie Portman when announcing the Best Director nominees for the Golden Globes. And I think that Guillermo del Toro was deserving of that too, not to take anything away from his win there, but that was an all-male category with those nominees. So I think everyone kind of expected her to, get the directorial nod, and she didn't. So I think that with, this being sort of like the year of the woman, I could definitely see her coming out and scooping it up.
So yeah, that's our pick. I think this is probably the biggest one of the biggest underdog sleeper picks that we have selected. More than likely Guillermo del Toro will win it, and I'm going to be really happy for him that he does. But I'd like to see Greta Gerwig win it. I think she's deserving of it, and I think Lady Bird's an excellent film. Next category, we're getting into the big 3. So for Best Actress, all right, we went with what I think is along with our next pick. Honestly, the Best Actor and Best Actress picks might as well be predetermined at this point. I think the Best Actress category is stacked, but the fact is that one actress has won the award for every single award so far this year.
Yeah, Frances McDormand, I think, has got to take it. She was amazing in 3 Billboards. Her competitors were also excellent, notably Margot Robbie and I, Tonya. Also deserving. Saoirse Ronan and Lady Bird, amazing. Meryl Streep in The Post, we haven't really talked about The Post yet, but it didn't do a ton for me. I think it was a Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep movie. It was great, but
all you really got to know about the Best Actress category is that there's 5 nominees and Meryl Streep has the worst chance of winning.
Yeah, kind of.
It's a strong category this year. That being said, Sally Hawkins nominated for The Shape of Water. She's great in The Shape of Water. I think she's just as good, if not better, in Maudie. Throwing that out there.
Yes. Yep. Tiny movie we saw earlier this year.
So our pick is Frances McDormand. That is also the pick of everybody in the world. So Frances McDormand will, in all likelihood, be winning this award unless somehow, based on what's been going on, Lady Bird has like a giant coup and starts winning everything, which I could see potentially happening.
Could be.
Barring that, Frances McDormand deserves to win and probably will win. Moving on to Best Actor. This is the lock of the century. Daniel Day-Lewis is losing. Daniel Kaluuya, love him, he's losing. Denzel Washington, nobody cares, you're losing. Roman J. Israel, whatever. Now, both of us would like to see Timothée Chalamet win for Call Me By Your Name.
He was really good, and I loved that movie. I thought it was great.
It was an excellent movie, and he is fantastic in it. That being said, Gary Oldman, playing Winston Churchill in Darkest Hour, has won every single award so far this year that matters. The only one left before the Academy Awards to kind of act as a barometer are the BAFTAs. If the British Film Awards don't choose a British man playing Winston Churchill as their award winner, then I will never post another podcast again. It's a lock. He's winning. He's going to win the Academy Award as well. He's due. He's great. And Gary Oldman, Darkest Hour. That's your best actor. You can pretty much write that one in everywhere. That's happening. So now we're on to the big one, Best Picture. And this is actually turning out to be pretty tough. Early on, I thought that Three Billboards was kind of going to run away with it.
Mm-hmm.
Back when the Golden Globes were kind of coming around, I thought Three Billboards was going to win everything. It's not going to be the case. I think it's between Three Billboards, The Shape of Water, and maybe there's an outside chance for something like Lady Bird.
Yeah, I don't think that Lady Bird is going to take it, and not that I think it necessarily should. I think it was a great film. I think that there are other awards that it should definitely be recognized for and by, but for Best Picture, I'm not totally sure. For me, The Post is out. It was sort of a, courtesy nod. Dunkirk maybe could come out from nowhere. I'm not sure. Phantom Thread, I just really wasn't a giant fan of, so I'm thinking no, despite it being, the great Daniel Day-Lewis. Get Out would be another, cool win. That would be a sort of an underdog pick, but I don't really see that happening either.
So much disdain for Daniel Day-Lewis.
He's just grinded my last gear lately.
You just hate that earring.
I'm not a fan right now. I don't know why.
You hate his stupid earring. It bothers you so much.
He just is
How old you sound? That Daniel
Day-Lewis with his earring. No, to me, he's like walking pretension. And honestly, I know I carry my own level of pretension, in my opinions on movies and music and all sorts of things. I get it. Would you
ever consider being friends with somebody if you knew they enjoyed Nickelback or Creed? I could look past it. You're lying. You could not look past it.
It would just have to depend. Maybe I would have to build a relationship first.
You know what? If they had if they were a 3 Michelin star chef, then maybe you would consider it.
What? See, there's your pretension coming out. Getting all fancy foodie over here. No, we all have our own levels here. I don't know why Daniel Day-Lewis, and maybe it wasn't him with his announcement that this is his last film. Maybe the media has sort of run away with that announcement. Maybe he didn't intend it for it to be that big, but for this to be his last film, I'm not really sure why he's going out on this note.
I'm just saying, if Ryan Gosling was like, hey man, you want to go to a Nickelback concert with me? I would tell him to fuck right off.
Well, we might differ a little bit on that one.
I love Ryan Gosling. I just want to be clear about that. But he is Canadian and may like Nickelback, and that would throw a wrench into the gears quite a bit.
In all our secret pretend celebrity friendship plans.
Friendship? Anyways, our pick for Best Picture is Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Contrary to the awards momentum, which would lead us to believe that The Shape of Water will come away with this. Those are definitely the two leading contenders at the moment.
It's kind of crazy that The Shape of Water has gotten this much attention. I thought it was great. I don't think it's Guillermo del Toro's best movie. I really enjoyed it. I'm really surprised it's gotten all the attention that it has.
I think it's a great movie, but it is my third favorite Guillermo del Toro movie behind Pan's Labyrinth and The Devil's Backbone.
Yep.
Okay, so 3 Billboards, Best Picture. So we've gone through all of our nominees and all of our predictions. We will have these posted on our website. Feel free to leave comments with your picks. Feel free to criticize the hell out of our picks and call us idiots. Maybe we'll actually, use some of your comments in a future episode if they're, funny enough.
Or just hurt our feelings enough.
If you hurt our feelings, we'll definitely use them in a future episode.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're gluttons for punishment. All right. So we will be back with another episode, probably back to reviewing movies at that point after a couple award-centric episodes. So thanks for listening to the CinemaMD podcast, and check us out online at our website, cinemamdpodcast.com, Instagram at cinemamdpodcast, Twitter, Facebook, all that fun stuff. Leave comments, send us messages,
reviews,
yell at us and call us idiots. It's all good. So we will see you later.